folks, Tim here, and welcome back to Elmendorf Acres. Well, today we are doing a little maintenance on our Scag. We've already done the spring prep work. We've sharpened the blades, changed the oil, greased everything, checked on our air filters, our spark plugs. All of our normal spring maintenance on this machine has been done. But while we were doing that, we found that the bearings in this front yoke went bad. Now last year, while it was being used, a rock was hit and it actually bent things a little bit. Every now and then that does happen. You're in a lawn, especially in this case, it was kind of a rescue mow. And what happened was a big rock was found in the middle of this lawn, and that front yoke hit it right here, hit it with this wheel, and it bent this whole thing. So what we did is we were able to get the parts to at least put the mower back together so we could keep using it. And honestly, it was towards the end of the year, and then I totally forgot that we had to do this. So we've done mowing with this, but now I've had to actually order the bearings for the inside of this here. So we'll be doing that today. We're going to be replacing those, and we got a new grease cap. We're going to grease everything. So hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, we'll be able to have this mower back up and officially running in a couple hours. Now I'm going to take my vest off because this is my brand new vest, and I really don't want to get it ruined with grease. So if you guys are anything like me, you've got varying levels of work clothes. All right, so we're going to move this camera in a little bit, and I just need to jack this up a tad. So we've tried to make things a little more user-friendly and a little bit more clean in the garage here over the winter. And in some cases, we've done okay. We do still have all of our snow stuff here in the garage. So I've got, what do I have in here right now? 3 snow blowers and salt spreader and a generator along with our little brine maker. So we're kind of cluttered here in the garage, but we do the best we can with what we've got. One of the things that we did upgrade this year was we did change to a new jack. Our old one was really, really tired. So nice to have a new one of those. That brings us up to a nice level. So we've got different custom tools. And if you look at this one, it's a very, very special pair of channel locks. So when this went bad last year, I did not have the tools to fix this. And I said, you know what, we'll just keep this. It fits in here and allows me to adjust as needed. So we're just kind of working on that. Work with it that way. And fortunately, it does work. It's not quite ideal, but tools are expensive, and I buy new ones all the time. We're constantly updating things, but it's difficult to keep up with every single tool that our particular profession requires. So I mean, we have to have a jack, obviously, and ratchets, wrenches, all these different tools. But sometimes a specialty socket like this one, something that we just don't have in the garage. And like I said, I had to get this thing put back together. Last year we were in the middle of a job, so I took the angle grinder to a pair of channel locks. And they are now our official channel locks for this job. So in a second here, that'll come right out. There we are. And what we're hoping to find is that the bearings, having gone bad, didn't damage the shaft at all. That's really what we want to find. So I'm going to clean this up and we're going to see what we have. You can come in.
My finger from the dirty hole.
That's right. There's various different things here that we have, and we're going to kind of see how everything looks. Like I said, I'm really hoping that we can get this thing back together today. The mowing season is certainly upon us, and it's sometimes a stressful couple of weeks because not only is it kind of new. You relearn everything for the year, but it's tough because you're trying to get people put on a list and get a list organized and working and everything like that. And it takes a little bit every year to get it all really going well. And having a machine that I should have remembered and fixed during the winter makes it a little extra difficult. So we're just going to kind of see how things look here. And looks like that's okay. There's a little score mark there, but not bad. We're going to see what else we have going on. Now we know that for sure there was a bearing in the top. I knew that. I did get a new one of them. If it's bad, this one actually looks like it may be okay. The bearing in the bottom is completely gone. And that's the one that we're really looking at today. So, like I said, there's a reason that I kind of do this with gloves on and work clothes, because you just end up with grease all over you. So, and then usually I keep a box right nearby that I can just throw the dirty rags in. It just so happens that our DeWalt box that we did a review on a couple days ago here, DeWalt inflator box, is in the garage still. So we'll get rid of those. And just try to keep things clean when we're working. It makes a big difference later. So I do have some interesting stuff in here that I'm finding now. Let's see what we've got. All right. Well, there you go. There's a really bad bearing. You can see, kind of. I mean, I'm wearing gloves, but that was a bearing. Not anymore. Put that in there. Again, stuffed with grease, you pack them with grease, and then you got to work on them, and boy, is it a mess. One of those things where the paper towels are better than the shop towels in this case. We do a lot with shop towels, but every now and then the paper towels just do work better, because you end up throwing it away. So try to clean this out, make sure that nothing inside the I want to make sure nothing inside here got damaged. Does not look like it did, which is good news.
Good news.
It does look like got a bit of a mess in here, but nothing a little bit of cleaning can't fix. So at the bottom down here where it hooks in, there is a little bit of scoring. So we'll see what we got. If it's just pieces of metal that have broken off, or exactly what's going on here. It looks like just some pieces of metal that were stuck to it. Daniel's working in the garage with me today, learning garage etiquette. Usually Jackson's out here with me, but he's inside doing school right now. And I've got Owen on a job spreading mulch, so that we're getting some projects done today. It is sunny outside, even after we had an enormous amount of rain the last couple days. So as I was saying before, one of the things that is amazing to me is how long it takes to build up tools that you need to do this job. And we are constantly buying tools, it feels like, as we slowly build up what we have. We actually are so far behind, we haven't been able to fully clean up our maple production yet. So it's been a pretty busy year so far, which has been good, but it's a little bit stressful as well. We've only got a couple outlets in the garage because we don't have a great amount of power available out here. We've only got a 15 amp circuit out here, so it's been a little difficult at times to get everything done the way we need to get it done. So we don't want to mess with the fit, but we also want to make sure that everything is smooth. I'm actually going to lower the garage door a little bit because the sun is shining right in my eye as I look up in there, and it's hard to see exactly where these little dig marks are. Can you get the light that's on the toolbox? Daddy's special square light that's on the side of the toolbox? Daniel, look at me. It's right there. On the side of the toolbox, it's black and red. Can you see it? Hey, it's stuck to the side of the toolbox. Other side of the toolbox, bud. Daniel is learning. Jackson knows where all these tools are already. Right here.
Oh. I didn't know.
So you go from not enough light to too much light to not enough light, but there. I really want to make sure that stay back. I want to make sure we get what we need to get here. So I want this to be nice and clean when we put the new bearings in. I'm really not going crazy. Just cleaning up a couple of the dig marks that are in there. Make sure everything is clean. That's our goal here. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to switch the Dremel tool from what it is, the little grinder wheel that's on it, to a sander wheel. And that's going to give me a nice smooth finish inside, really nice and smooth finish inside, which is what we want to see. So we're going to do that. That'll clean it up nice. And I said I don't always have every right tool. It takes a very, very long time to get every single tool that we need. So some of it is make do with what we have. All right, that really cleaned that area up nicely in there. And then we're going to get this in. Let's see here. I'm not paying attention apparently. All right, so now I just need to clean that up a little tiny bit in there.
Oh, it's
I
gonna
should
get
really
this.
make a nice difference with it. All right, let's do a quick check with our paper towel. We'll clean it out and we'll look at how everything is. And I can tell you it's much, much cleaner. There's no sharp, nothing sharp in there now, which is good. We had some sharp stuff in there before. So some of that was from me driving that bearing out, the old bearing race out. But this is our new one here, and I'm going to just, for now, slide it, check, make sure everything is at least close before we really get that in there, right? So this is the way it was supposed to look. This is what we just took out. We want to ensure that that's going to slide up in there nicely. And it feels like it's pretty close. Got a little bit of stuff in there still. Oh, pretty close. Let's see if we can see where we got a little bit more. We're just going to take a tiny bit more just to ensure that everything is working properly in there. Now, one of the things you want to do when you're doing bearings, make sure you pack those bearings before they go back in, right? These things need grease. That's part of what happened to this one. The grease cap got lost, dirt got in there, it was exposed to the weather, and it wore out. Part of it was also the fact that when we replaced the yoke, it was already damaged a little bit. And we did not have the bearing needed to put things back together quite the way they were supposed to be. You want to make sure you have that option. Very nice in there now, I'm looking down in. See that it's good. You guys out there, if you can put up with your kids being in the garage, it's a good thing. Mine are with me more times than not. Every now and then I get annoyed and they get thrown out, but as long as they're not damaging anything, it's very good for them to be in the garage with you. But before I take a break here for a minute, let me just show you this. You can see where this has been worn from hitting the bottom of that yoke. That silver part right there is actually bearing. So that needs to come off. You can see it's still spinning a little bit. So I got to get that part off next. But we're going to work on that for a few minutes. I'm going to go over to the vise and do that. So I'm going to cut the camera out. But when we get back, we'll be putting this whole front wheel assembly back together. All right, so I got the rest of that bearing off the front yoke. Everything is cleaned up and I believe ready to be put back together. This should slide right back onto here. I'm going to actually pack it first. Yep, that will go on there. So we're going to pack this bearing and then I'm going to do the same somewhere in here. Here it is. I've got a bearing for the top. So we're going to pack both of these bearings with grease and then reassemble this front yoke. Now they make tools to do this. I find that it works really well to just do it with your hand. You can pack bearings by hand and you don't need a special tool that way. Notice my mess all over the floor here.
Daddy, I go pay.
Okay.
I
So we got both of those. We want to keep them clean. And this particular spot right here is pretty clean. So what I end up doing is I end up wearing gloves. And I really like these black heavy nitrile gloves. They hold up a lot better than the thin latex gloves. I think these are 5 mil. I say they hold up better. One just broke on me. But they hold up much better than the cheaper latex gloves. And occasionally I can find 10 mil gloves and we buy them as well. But for the mechanic type work, maintenance type work, when you're doing brakes or greasing things or using any kind of a chemical, it's really nice to have a little bit of this stuff around. Let's see what we got here for grease. None on that one. All right, let's check this one. And they have, of course, actual bearing grease. I use just our red grease from our grease gun. I put some in the glove, and then I just pack it in. I'm no expert, but it's a whole lot better than not packing it and pumping it full of this grease afterwards. So we need a little bit more than what I got. What they make, like I said, they make special tools for that, where you set the bearing in, and you just push it. And it's like a tub of butter, kind of. Just right in. So you just take it and hit it like that. Right? This is a high-tack grease. Stuff that I use on all my equipment. The tractor uses it, the mower gets it, everything gets it. And this pushes that grease into those actual bearings. So it's something you want to do for sure. It's an important part of making sure everything works. And that's yeah, that's actually in there pretty good, which is great. Just hit it from the other side a little bit. And that's how you do it. You just pack it in. And it is a greasy, sticky process. And you can see now why I like to do it with gloves on. So there's the first one. And I'm going to set this one on the top because I already know it's going to go in the top here. So that one is going to go right in there. And then I've still got some left. I'm going to squirt a little more grease in here. And let's see. Like I said, sometimes you make do with what you have. I don't do enough bearings to have a bearing packing tool. Stay back. It's very dirty here now. All right. We just do the same thing. And this one's going to go on the bottom part of the yoke. So there's 2 bearings in the front yoke here. One in the top part of that shaft, one in the bottom part of that shaft. And you want to make sure everything is greased up. Simple maintenance. Folks, simple maintenance really, really helps your machinery last a lot longer. And some of my friends will laugh about that because knowing what they know about me, over the years I learned that the hard way, in a big way. So this one's going to go here on the bottom, which is where that came off of. So we'll get the bearing up in there, supposedly, and then we will slide said grease cap in. Make sure you don't have any dirt in there. It's, you know, you want like 6 hands to do this process, I guess. But we're trying. There. Okay.
Daddy, do you need it? Tip the needle over.
No. Alright, like I was saying about older clothes, prepare to get dirty. You're going to. Alright, let's see. We should be able to get this right up through. We want that all the way up through here to there. Obviously, we want that to slide down. We want this on as best we can. And we also want this on. Which is where a custom tool comes in. Again, I don't have the right tools, but you kind of make do with what you got. As long as it works. Oh, good. Okay. So we're getting there. We've made a plenty good mess.
A good mess? A good mess?
Got stuff all over the place. Look out, bud.
Why did they good mess?
We got. We just pick some of this stuff up that we have less laying around.
Yeah.
Alright. So, again, I don't have an actual nice ratchet to make all this work properly, but what I'm doing here is just tightening it up, and that's also pressing things together, which is what we want to see. Some of this stuff, like this in the bottom here, I want that to press up good, so we're getting there. Just take a little while. So what I do have a socket set that will work. The problem is it won't fit inside this cup here, and I would have to basically sacrifice the set by taking the angle grinder to it. I did actually look at this piece and it was quite expensive, so that's why we didn't buy it. Now when we're doing grease fittings on these mowers in particular, you want to take the little grease fitting cover off and then put a grease fitting in. That's your goal with that. I'm going to put this back up.
I know the fidget thing.
Whoa! See the winner? Look out.
I know the fidget thing.
So, these little covers right here, right? They're for your grease zerks. So you take that off. Don't lose that. They started doing these covers years ago, and they work pretty well as long as you don't lose them. Put it in your grease cap even is a good way to go. And I have both standard and metric grease fitting zerks. That way I can use whatever we have going on here. Because sometimes it's standard and sometimes it's metric. In this case, this one's standard. And you just put them in. Just a simple spin them in to where you're ready to start greasing. And what you want to do is you want to do this and then hook your grease gun to it. And no, I do not have the handy dandy automated one yet. Someday maybe. And we just pump it full. And you want to do that until you see the grease starting to come through the top. Right, we got a grease seal on the bottom, so theoretically that grease seal should hold most of that grease in at the bottom, and this should fill this whole center column with grease, and it should come out the top. And that's one of the reasons we got that grease cap. When we take it off, when we're going to grease, we'll grease that wheel as well, that front one. But you take it off so it doesn't pop out and blow seals out. Very important. And this is going to take quite a bit, right? We already packed these bearings But we're filling this, about half of this tube with grease. And on most of our mowers, it calls for once a year, or I think maybe every 500 hours. Well, we don't usually put 500 hours on each mower each year, so doing it once a year is plenty. Now, if you live down in Florida or somewhere down towards the south where you're mowing a lot more, you will put a lot more on your mowers. All right, so we are full. That whole cup is now full. We got a little bit that just started coming out the top here, which is good. Take that off. We'll just do a quick clean here to get any of the goo out. There we are. You bring the box over here?
Yes, Daddy. I'm good.
You're good at it, yes. Thank you. Good job. All right, we'll take this grease zerk back out, and we're going to use it on that side. So back to spring maintenance on our mowers. Our goal is usually to do our spring maintenance in the fall before we winterize everything. And that might sound kind of funny, but that's kind of when we have time to do it, is those couple weeks leading up to Christmas time, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We usually have a little bit of spare time business-wise, and that gives us time to do some fall maintenance on our machines, fix things that are broken, do the oil changes, the air filters, spark plugs, things like that at that time. We also put a fuel conditioner in our fuel tanks and we let them run. In this case, this machine has 2 fuel tanks. The other one has 1. So what we did in the winter for this one, I don't remember which tank, but one of the tanks was empty. The other one was completely full with fuel conditioner, and we let it run for, I'm trying to remember how long we let it run for. I think we let it run for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. One thing I forgot is you put this on with this grease zerk off. That is the problem with doing stuff once a year, is you do kind of forget the different thing, right? Because that's creating pressure. Again, we don't want to blow that bearing out. So we'll do that. This will actually kind of squirt out the bottom probably. Assuming everything is working properly. We just hammer these on nice easily. And you can see where that's on there. It's on nice. And you can see that that is just oozing out there, which is fine. Spin it a few times, let everything see how it's doing. Seems to be okay. I'll grab one of my used paper towels here and just catch that. Right, we don't want to blast the seals out of the bottom. It's got a grease seal on the bottom. You don't want to blow that out. It stopped oozing at this point. Hit it one more time, throw your paper towel away, and put your little cap back in there. So yes, a messy process, but this is one that really helps you maintain those front yokes. If you've never done it, bearings are a pain, and bearings are not cheap. Well, grease is cheap. Kind of like I like to say oil's cheap. It's really not, but it's cheaper than replacing your engine. So doing oil changes, things like that, bearings are not cheap. So if you can use a little bit of grease, a little bit of grease go to waste, it's fine. Spend a little bit of time maintaining your equipment, and it will serve you well in the long run. Look out, bud. I'm gonna move this. We go through a lot of grease. I don't buy super expensive grease. I probably could, but I don't. It's just the Tractor Supply simple grease. Can you get my hammer?
Get your little one.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a simple Tractor Supply grease, but it's the red grease. I prefer the red grease over the black grease. So this one still has still definitely has grease in it. It's actually still some of the original grease from Scag. We've greased this, but we've never had to grease it a lot because this one has held up well. Like I said, the other one had a little issue midsummer last year, so. I just do a couple pumps, just until it starts pushing out the top a little bit. It won't take a lot. And And just until it starts pushing that grease up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Very important. And then we take our, can you get my paper towels?
Yeah.
Take our paper towel. It doesn't hurt my feelings to put a used grease zerk back in my grease zerk container. Talk about things that are expensive. A container like this of grease zerks adds up pretty quick money-wise. So I clean them up, I put them right back in there. Now we'll put our cap back on. All right, folks, so we were talking about spring service of our machinery. And I'm taking a couple minutes today just to discuss things like that. We had, over the last day and a half, I think about 2.5 inches of rain. So it's a little wet to try to mow today. So I'm just doing some extras as far as the service goes. Unfortunately, the camera died right as I was doing the remainder of the front yoke, where I had popped the grease fitting off of the other side, greased that, and then put it back in and put the cap back on. So that's what we did with that. But somebody had said, hey, make a video of what you do in the spring to prepare for the lawn mowing season. Well, unfortunately, not only did I not have time to do the video because we went straight into mowing last week, a lot of our spring prep is actually done in the fall. Like I was saying while I was working on this earlier, from Thanksgiving to Christmas, we do a lot of our spring prep on these machines. We will sharpen the blades, we will do an oil change, we'll do a lot of different maintenance on these machines at that time, because really, in a landscaper's life, this time of year is absolutely insane. I'm going to sit here right now with my cup of coffee and pretend that I'm not dying inside wishing we could mow right now. But the landscaper's life in the spring is absolutely insane. And on rain days, we tend to do machinery maintenance. Owen is next to our mulching right now. I've got a large patio installation job. Well, maybe not large. We got a 160 square foot patio installation job to do later this week. So I guess that's kind of a mid-size. But things like that, it's a little wet to get in there today. The property's really wet. We're actually going to be pulling some of the stone that they already have. They've got bluestone on the property. So we're going to pull some of that stone out and use that in their patio. That way, part of their patio has stone from their property. It's something that's really important to them, and it's something that we're going to be working on. So back to spring maintenance. Most of the spring maintenance stuff would be touch up a blade if we didn't get to it. One of the things I did learn early on in my career, our first couple cuts, right? We always cut with sharp blades, but our first couple cuts, we try to use the old blades from last season, because we find sticks and rocks and just everything all over the yard in those first couple cuts. So I really, really hate putting a brand new set of blades on. Blades are expensive. You put a brand new set on, and the first thing you do, the first yard, you find some rock that somehow ended up in the middle of the yard. So we try to use the older blades for the first cut or two. Again, still sharp, but the older blades for the first cut. Then we put the new blades on. So like my X-Mark zero turn that I run, Owen usually runs the Scag when he's mowing by himself, and then when we mow together, usually this is in the front of the trailer. We've got our turf tracer, the X-Mark turf tracer in the middle, and then the back of the trailer has my X-Series X-Mark in it. And what we did right now was, I'm going to be due for an oil change, I think, next week. So by then we'll have at least the first cut done on all of our lawns by the end of next week. I can pull that machine in here into the garage, knock out an oil change quick, check on the air filter, check on the belts, just go over it. Usually by then we'll have found a nail or two, patch the tire, and put new blades on it. And then I'm ready to go for the 2 weeks leading up to Memorial Day. Years ago, and I don't know exactly when this has changed, it's kind of morphed in the last couple of years. But years ago, our big rush was Memorial Day. And now, for some reason, over the last 5 or 6 years, the big rush is the last weekend in April, which is this coming weekend. Everybody wants their properties done by then, which is, in upstate New York, is a little bit difficult This year, not so hard because we didn't have a lot of snow, but many times in upstate New York, or where we are, which is in the Hudson Valley of New York, there's still snow on the ground in mid-April, or early April. So it's really hard to get 100 properties all prepped for the end of April. But we do our best. We work hard at it. I'm doing a lot of hours right now. Owen, as usual, is working 4 days a week. He does 10-hour days. That gives him his 40, and then he has a 3-day weekend. So that's the way we've been running the business. It's worked pretty well. And it also allows for, if there's a rain day in there or 2 rain days in there, he'll end up switching his days off a little bit and work around the schedule a little. So there's our update as far as spring maintenance on these machines. Yes, we do it, but our end of year maintenance is a much bigger deal. That's when we do any of the major stuff. And that's when I call the repair shops and say, hey, we've got this issue with this machine. I know it's wintertime, but my trailer's are on the road anyway. I'm going to bring it down. And then you have a month to work on it rather than, hey, I really need the machine to get mowing in 3 days. Can you get it done in that period of time? So that's worked well. That's the way we've run the business over the last few years. And that's what it's kind of turned itself into. So thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and please share. We are working on hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark. As of recording this video, I believe we've got 226. And every single time we gain a new subscriber, Abby and I get excited about it. A buddy of mine calls me and goes, hey, you got another one. So really appreciate you folks taking the time to subscribe to our videos. Thank you. Have a great day.